Resident Evil characters in Smash Bros. Welcome to Blocktober. What's happening, my spooky blocked buddies, and welcome to a brand new episode of Blocked Content. My name is Callum, and this is going to be your content for today, and it's pretty interesting. Right now, it is October, which means something that we do on a yearly basis, which is called Blocktober. Now, of course, we have a lot more subscribers than we did last year or even the year previous that we started the channel, and it's super amazing that all you guys have joined us today for this new episode. Blocktober isn't really all that different from what we usually do, but things are a little bit more spooky. We tend to do content that is a little bit more creatively, Halloween, spooky, scary. So if you have any suggestions for games we should play on live stream or news that we should report on, please let me know in the Discord. The link is in the description. Today we are going to be talking about some Smash Brothers stuff, namely Resident Evil content in Super Smash Brothers, and actually how possible it all is, the characters that they could choose, and actually a really good idea for move sets and which specifics they could actually take to Smash Brothers, what would be a little bit too much, and what would be just the right amount of Resident Evil for a Smash Brothers game. And of course, for those of you guys who like giveaways, we are giving away a Piranha Plant plushie, this cute plant boy, and this What's Happening My Blocked Buddies t-shirt. So please subscribe to Blocked Content, subscribe to the channel right now, comment down below why you should have one of these items, and you'll enter for the giveaway at 40 and 50k. Alright guys, let's head right on into this. Well, let's talk about Leon Kennedy in Super Smash Bros. Because this character, there's two choices here, right? I think it's either going to be Chris Redfield or it's going to be Leon Kennedy, because I think those two characters have been pretty much the Resident Evil main characters for the past couple of games. Of course, we've gotten Jill, and very recently we've gotten Claire. Characters like those are really interesting, and I think in a lot of ways with Resident Evil characters in Super Smash Bros., you could go a very interesting way, and that's actually give them pretty much the same moveset, and you'll have different skins for the characters. So it'll be in a way like the hero in Super Smash Bros. With all its cool creative movesets. And of course 4 different characters, but they play exactly the same, kind of like the Koopalings in Smash Ultimate and stuff like that. So I would like to see kind of like a humanoid soldier-like character with a lot of different moves, with a lot of different weaponry, right? With grenades to throw, crowbars, all that kind of good stuff. But then you'll be able to choose which version of that Resident Evil incarnation you'd really want to see. So you won't be able to do as much in the moveset that is specific to a character, kind of like in, the Dragon Quest moveset. Yeah, you can't really do anything super hyper specific because you'll end up with a situation where Ludwig's final smash would be Shadow Mario. That makes absolutely no sense in Smash Bros. Ultimate, and I think you'll want to be very smart about what you do in your moveset and what you don't do in your moveset. So I think either make it super generic, so it could be a lot of people's fan favorites from that franchise, or you actually make it very specific and you just choose one character to completely flesh out in a way that characters like Banjo-Kazooie are, or maybe even Joker from Persona 5, right? So in a lot of ways, there is so much to take from in the Resident Evil franchise. I think there have been characters playable in fighting games for a very long time, namely Jill Valentine, Chris Redfield, Albert Wesker, and Nemesis. They were actually in the Marvel vs. Capcom fighting games. They had really interesting movesets, but they mostly had, some sort of mechanic that was long range with guns and even moves that incorporated zombies into them. Now that is a thing that I think would fit very well with Smash Brothers, especially if you tone the zombies down a little bit to like a Re-Dead level for a Zelda game, something like that. I think that it would be really spooky, really fun to have the player actually be able to send out zombies that basically take fighters, and you'll be able to, pummel them and stuff like that. Maybe they even work exactly like the Re-Deads did in Super Smash Bros. Melee. They, of course, appeared in the Adventure Mode, the second stage, which was sort of like a Hyrule Temple kind of underground dungeon level. And I thought the Re-Deads were really cool in that stage because they actually could grab hold of you, and they were quite difficult to fend off. I think if you take that idea and make a side B out of it, or maybe even a down B out of it to spawn a character like that, I think it would work very, very well. Of course, weaponry is a very big staple of the Resident Evil franchise, and you have all these different guns. Now, of course, now that we have Joker, guns are a little bit more possible than they were, although I don't think we'll be able to see things like a shotgun, things that are very hyper real. What I do think that we might be seeing is simple pistols and, of course, a grenade launcher. Grenade launchers are, of course, always used in these big epic battles in Resident Evil where you blow up the final boss or something like that. So I definitely think a very good move would be a grenade launcher, especially if you think of ways to do an up B. How do you do an up B for a character that is basically a humanoid and doesn't really have any special powers? Well, you could go a grappling hook route or something like that, but I think a grenade launcher would be very cool. What if the up B was basically shooting the grenade launcher downward into the ground and then launching the character up a little bit? And if you use it in the air, of course, you'll gain height immediately by shooting and maybe a little bit more from the explosion on the ground if you are able to hit the ground there. So it would be really cool if you have actually different rounds, different ideas for the grenade launcher. Of course, they have in the games, the flame one, acid rounds, so they could have different effects, and maybe that could be a part of the moveset of the Resident Evil characters, and maybe specifically like a Leon or a Chris Redfield type of character, right? Where you basically swap out different kinds of ammo, and you are able to do this basically on the fly. Maybe a little bit like Shulk, choosing different arts. Maybe you could actually choose a different main weapon that you are, playing with. That'd be really interesting, but of course, normal combat is also a huge part of the Resident Evil franchise, especially in the later entries where you're able to melee certain evil zombies and stuff like that. And there are a lot of moves involved that are basically throwing or punching and stuff like this, where I think it's really cool. You can already really see sort of a grab combo with these characters that's very realistic, but still would look very cool if you threw the characters a little bit further. That is, of course, the Smash Brothers charm, right? Now, of course, characters in Resident Evil always have some sort of knife attached to them. They could definitely use this in Smash Bros. As we've seen, a couple of different types of these ideas, even in Joker's moveset, that kind of appears there. So that is definitely not off the table. But in terms of machine guns, rapid fire guns, that might be a little bit too difficult to implement. Of course, we see characters like Bayonetta that have rapid fire weapons, and that actually works quite well. But in this instance, it's this really hyper realistic thing, and I don't know if they're gonna, go for that. I think more realistic, or should I say less realistic options that would work in Smash Brothers would be stuff like flamethrowers, which would basically work like the fire flower in Smash Brothers already, and some sort of railgun, electricity formed big, huge weapon. Some of the animations in the games for Marvel vs. Capcom are, bigger than life, bigger than their realistic counterparts. And there's even the character from Dead Rising, Frank West was in those games and also used zombies, used all these great, awesome weapons that he can brandish in the game. So I think that if you take all these crazy realistic weapons, tone them down a little bit, or choose the ones that are explosive and big like Snake's moveset, and if you use a lot of great melee options like throwing, countering, stuff like that, I think that this will be a fighter that will definitely be slow, right? It won't be a character that will be very fast on its feet, kind of like Joker, or, I think even Hero is quite fast for what the moveset of that character is. I think that it would make sense for this character to be even slower than that, right? Because it's so heavily based on a moveset with all this different type of weaponry and even spawning zombies and stuff like that. The character would probably be very powerful, and powerful in a way that Little Mac might be up close, and Little Mac's running speed is actually really incredible. I think that this character would have the opportunity to also have long range weapons, but you don't give up everything for that. I think what you give up is basically the speed of your character. So very low jumping, very difficult to get back to the stage, but once you're on the stage, it's all fair game. You can use everything in your arsenal to basically slow everyone down and blow everyone off the field. I think a Resident Evil character is likely in Smash Brothers because, of course, Capcom has been playing ball for a very long time with Masahiro Sakurai, and the content from Capcom in the game is always very extensive, also goes into the DLC and stuff like that. So I think that it's a really great bet that we might be seeing that because, of course, they are a huge franchise in gaming as a whole. Everyone would kind of recognize, oh, that's the zombie franchise, right? No, that's not The Walking Dead, that's Resident Evil. Yeah, the other other one, right? The other huge zombie big franchise. I think that there's a very large group of people that would really like a character like this. I think that it's maybe time, right? I think Super Smash Bros. Ultimate introduces new fan bases to Smash Bros. And vice versa. I think that Resident Evil might be one of the things that would connect a lot of people, right? It's one of those things that if a trailer appears and it's this really great thing where they introduce Leon or someone like Jill or Claire or even Chris, I think if they do it in the right way and it'll be like awesome, I think that this is a character that people won't really be angry or mad about, and everyone would just be really thrilled and excited to see what the moveset for the character would be. And as I've shown you today with all these examples that I've kind of collected from friends, I've collected from the internet, and of course a lot of my own ideas, because Resident Evil 4 was pretty much one of my favorite games on the GameCube. Yeah, I think that we'll be in for a really good time if we have some great Resident Evil content. I'm really curious if you guys have any ideas from all of the Resident Evil games, what you think should be in Smash Brothers. Like, do you think at all there should be Resident Evil content in Smash? So let me know in the comments down below, because I will actually take that comment and read it out loud next video, so maybe you could be featured. So today's comment question is, of course, do you want any Resident Evil content in Smash Brothers? Or maybe you don't care for it at all and you don't want it, so let me know. As for a previous comment question, our answer comes to us from Ganojo, saying, "For me, a more fitting intro video for Doomslayer would be a continuation of Simon and Richter trailer, where we see both Simon with Luigi in his shoulders and Richter escaping from Dracula's minions as the castle crumbles after Dracula's defeat. Then, as soon as they leave the castle, they see themselves being surrounded by a lot of glowing eyes coming from deep in the forest. As the eyes get closer and closer, the silhouettes of demons of the Doom franchise start to reveal themselves. See imps, cacodemons, hell knights, barons of hell, etc. Then, when Richter and Simon get cornered and are in a real problem, Doomslayer gets in action, shooting the demons and vanishing them." Well, that's just what I think, but it would be cool to have Doomslayer intro video. Give me your thoughts. Well, Ganojo, I actually think it's really cool. I think a first-person shooter perspective should always be kind of the focus if you're doing Doomslayer, because that's, of course, his thing. And if they can incorporate that with your idea, then I'm totally game. This would be really amazing. So thank you guys so much for sending in your comments. These are always so much fun to read through. And, of course, a huge shout-out to everybody joining us on the live streams, donating to Super Chat. We'll do a live stream Blocktober very soon. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's have some spooky online live chat fun with you guys, and maybe play some Smash Bros. Ultimate, maybe play some spooky characters in that, maybe some Luigi's Mansion when it comes out. And of course, if you want to join us, if you want to be a Patreon supporter and donate something to the channel, it can be, $1, it can be more, it all depends on what kind of reward you want from it. Go to patreon.com/blockedcontent, because there's a whole lot waiting for you, and I can't wait for you to see it and be a part of the channel. And of course, if you aren't yet a member of the Blocked Content subscriber family yet, don't worry, click the subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications. All the news and fun will be delivered on the daily to you, and of course, it's Blocktober, which means this whole month we're going to be doing spooky, scary skeleton things. So please join us, because you'll never know what hides around the corner, what creepy stuff. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys around where there's always more Blocked content. See ya!